This paper looks at both Povidone-Iodine nasal spray and a saline nasal spray as a control. In this randomized control trial, participants were randomized within 5 days of testing positive for COVID, where they either received a placebo, which was a 0.9% saline rinse, a 0.5% Povidone-Iodine nasal spray, or a 2% Povidone-Iodine nasal spray. It's important to note that their start date was pretty far into the infection, so it's not surprising that the mean cycle threshold value increased over time in all groups, which means that people were getting better, there were declining viral loads. However, there was no statistically significant difference noted in the rate of change between the placebo and the Povidone-Iodine groups. In terms of symptom improvement, the 2% Povidone-Iodine group showed statistically significant improvement in all symptom categories. However, it also reported a high rate of nasal burning. These data suggest that dilute versions of Povidone-Iodine nasal sprays are safe for topical use in the nasal cavity, but that the Povidone-Iodine does not demonstrate virucidal activity in COVID-19 positive outpatients. To be eligible for the study, all participants had to be adults, 18 years or older, and they had to have a documented positive nasopharyngeal swab for COVID-19 within 5 days prior to study enrollment. On treatment day 1, they had an initial baseline nasopharyngeal swab, and then a second swab was collected 1 hour following the first treatment. Patients were then instructed to self-administer 9 clinical treatments, 2 sprays per nostril 4 times a day at home. And then a third nasopharyngeal swab was collected on treatment day 3 after 10 treatments, or a total of 20 sprays per nostril, where all of those treatment sprays were self-administered. Of the 35 patients, 11 were in the saline rinse control group, 11 were in the 0.5% Povidone-Iodine group, and 13 were in the 2% Povidone-Iodine group, where a mixed effects linear regression showed that the cycle threshold values increased with time. So this is what that looks like. So there's the baseline treatment 1 hour after that baseline, and then 3 days later, where the white is the saline, the 0.5% Povidone-Iodine is this light gray, and the 2% Povidone-Iodine is this dark gray. So at each of the measured points, we're not seeing a difference between the saline and the Povidone-Iodine group. And while on average by day 8 after COVID positivity testing, they're getting better, this did not achieve statistical significance. But the thing I'd like to emphasize is that for the saline group and the Povidone-Iodine group, for pre-treatment and post-treatment, we're not seeing any differences. This is telling us that the nasal sprays are not doing anything. And what I mean by that is that the nasal sprays are not decreasing the viral load. What we do know from saline nasal rinses, and more preferably an isotonic seawater nasal rinse, what we know is that it's very good at dislodging COVID and flushing it out of the nose, which is good to remove COVID, so the continuous flushing by any nasal rinse is going to be beneficial, preferably if it is a seawater nasal rinse. This does not mean go to the ocean, sample seawater, and flush it up your nose. What I'm referring to is clinically treated seawater nasal rinses. If you go to the ocean and use that has bacteria, that has microbes, that has protozoans in it, little swimmers in there, that is a no-no. But for those interested, it's an undiluted isotonic seawater solution that is very good. Going back to the paper, even at a higher concentration of Povidone-Iodine at about 2%, even that isn't effective against COVID. And in addition to its non-effectiveness, it has a high rate of burning sensation and pain. By day 3, about 93% of participants were reporting that, while only about 17% of participants were reporting that for saline. And to emphasize this once more, the study did not find differences in the COVID viral load between the treatment and placebo groups. Additionally, as a part of their exploratory analysis, they used a minus-strand SARS-CoV-2 reverse transcriptase PCR test, which correlates well with culturable live virus, to help determine whether any of the treatment arms had an effect on viral replication. However, for both the saline and Povidone-Iodine groups, they had minimal changes in the cycle threshold value at the 1 hour time point. This indicates that neither the saline nor Povidone-Iodine was effective in reducing viral replication after a single administration of therapy. So if you have an active COVID infection, doing a saline rinse in your nose and doing Povidone-Iodine spray in your nose, neither of those is going to be effective. We're going to want to lean to treatments like nitric oxide sprays or iota carrageenan